What can we say, right? Barcelona were able to defeat Porto at their home 1-0, and this was considered as Barcelona's most difficult game in the group stages. And Barcelona have gotten the full 3 points. Everything else that does come after this will be considered as easier. It won't be easy, but it will be easier than the match that we played against Porto at their home. Barcelona have got the job done. Ferran was able to score the goal, and it was because of Gundogan's amazing assist. We were able to capitalize off of Porto's huge mistake, by the way. And Gundogan quickly recovered the ball, passed it through Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres shoots the ball between the goalkeeper's legs, I believe, and then it was 1-0. Barcelona did just enough to shut down Porto, and again, we got the 3 points. We do have a total of 6 points, while Porto's in second place with 3. Shakhtar has 3, and then we have Antwerp with a total of 0. Barcelona began this campaign winning 5-0 against Antwerp, and now winning 1-0 away from home against Porto. We continue to win over and over again, and so I know that this wasn't Barcelona's best game. It was very difficult. We really had to hustle through this match. It was, I would say, another dirty match from us. We're slowly, in a way, starting to show characteristics of the dirty version of Atletico Madrid. We're very dirty. We know how to put in a good tackle. We get very physical when we want to. Like, this especially does come from Gavi, Araujo, sometimes Kounde, Oriol Romeo, and many other players. I think that Xavi Hernandez has been asking for this squad to be much more aggressive on the pitch, and it is showing. But there is a right way to be aggressive on the pitch without getting so many yellow cards within the first 45 minutes. But like I've said, this team is growing. This team is very young. We are going to be making mistakes, and the fact that we're still able to suffer through difficult games like this and get the goal that we need, that's okay. That is enough. We'll grow through this season. Again, was it a beautiful game? Was it like the game that we played against Antwerp when we won 5-0? No, it wasn't. But it was a difficult stadium to go to. We saw the fans. It was very energetic. Porto had massive backing, and Barcelona had to show much more character than what they did before. And also pray that Barcelona did not end up like PSG. PSG just got slammed. They got clapped. They got ran through by Newcastle 4-1. Can you imagine PSG losing 4-1 to Newcastle? And they have players like Dembele, they have Kylian Mbappe, they have so many great players. Dembele probably thought that he made the correct decision going to PSG, and because he saw the big bag from PSG, and now look at him. Now he's over here not showing his skills like he did at Barcelona and losing to every team and getting embarrassed in the Champions League and losing 4-1 against Newcastle. So just be happy that Barcelona is not in that state. Barcelona is definitely above where PSG is mentally and sportingly. I think that we are in a good position. Yes, we still have a lot of time to improve. I do think that we are going to definitely grow through the competition, just like how Man City is, right? Man City were at one point tying against Leipzig, but they came out on top and they won 3-1. So a lot of teams in the Champions League right now that are considered good really have to hustle through certain matches. Like, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. So I do want to say a couple of things. I want to thank Araujo and Kounde for putting out a great defensive performance. I am so happy with the way Araujo and Kounde showed up. Yes, I know that Kounde and Araujo did some mistakes in the back line, but overall they had a very great performance. They did commit some fouls. Yes, they got too over aggressive on certain plays that weren't necessary at all, but you know, these are two very young, inexperienced center backs, I would say, because Kounde and Araujo have not seen top European football yet with Barcelona. They're very inexperienced. They're not like someone like Chiellini and Bonucci, or Maldini and Nesta at their prime, or even Puyol and Piqué during their primes. Araujo and Kounde are nowhere near there yet, but they will be, and that is why I do say they're considered very inexperienced center backs together and at Barcelona, but they are doing so well in that back line. Like, without them, without these two center backs, Porto probably would have scored 1 to 2 goals against us. We probably would have lost this match, but because Kounde came in the very last minute when one of the forwards of Porto were about to score, that was just amazing. And then followed up like 2 minutes later, we saw Araujo come in very last minute before Porto was about to score with some other striker, and he came in, put his foot in, and made one of the Porto forwards misplace that shot. It was excellent defending for Araujo and Kounde to time that so well, to defend so well. They could have committed a penalty at that moment, but they put their foot in the right place, and that is what you call great defending. I think that Kounde, though, had the better game over Araujo. He was just unstoppable when it came to accurate passes. He had a 94% accurate pass rate with 73 out of 78 passes completed. He took a total of 94 touches, which meant that he was very involved in the match, had 4 passes into the final third, 2 out of 4 long balls completed, 1 tackle won, 10 clearances, 5 headed clearances, 14 defensive actions, and 5 recoveries. This is amazing. This is like top class center back level. And then we have Araujo with 78 touches, 5 out of 9 long balls completed, 8 passes into the final third, 1 out of 1 tackles won, 4 defensive actions, and 4 recoveries. And so I look at Araujo and Kounde playing together in that center back pairing, and I'm like, this is Maldini and Nesta in the making. They're not at that level yet of whatever Maldini and Nesta were back in 2005, but they're coming up there and they're really close. I would say that if you give Araujo and Kounde more time together, maybe about 1 to 2 more seasons, they will become the best center back pairing in the world. And it could be this season. Who knows how fast they could progress together, but this center back pairing is so worth it. We must work on this pairing and their understanding and chemistry with one another. I did talk about how I think that Barcelona's overall best defensive lineup that they could place, it is Kounde as a right back with Araujo and Christensen as a center back duo and Alejandro Balde on the left back position. But how are you going to take Kounde out of the center back position when he's performing like this? It's a very difficult thing to sell if you want Kounde as a right back and Araujo and Christensen as the center back duo, right? Because Kounde and Araujo, I think, are produce so much more together, and we definitely saw it against Porto. Now, I do want to move on towards another thing. I think that Lamine Yamal has to see much more of the ball. I don't understand why Barcelona were so aggressive in terms of always trying to find Dembele on the right wing and constantly passing the ball to Dembele down the right flank. Like, they were doing that over and over again. Like, Dembele was looking at the ball like every 3 to 5 minutes. He was very involved in every attacking play, but with Lamine Yamal, we leave him isolated. But for what? Like, you leave him isolated, but you don't pass it to him? We have to find Lamine Yamal much more. This is a guy that needs much more volume in order for him to really showcase what he could do, because every time Lamine Yamal had the ball, yes, he did lose the ball sometimes. Yes, he did misplace the ball sometimes, but that doesn't matter. Like, he's 16. Of course, he's going to be making mistakes. And so when you know that a player is going to be making mistakes, you give him more of the ball. You show him that you are still confident in that player, and maybe he might give you one key pass out of like every 10 to 11 attempted key passes, right? That is why I do say he's a guy of high volume. You need to give him the ball over and over again so he can produce that one magical moment. And then eventually, as he does get better and he gets older and more experienced, then you're going to see him much more efficient with the ball. But as of now, the game is for him to have the ball a lot. And players like Gundogan, Gavi, Oriol Romeo, Lewandowski, Ferran Torres, they weren't looking at Lamine Yamal enough. And so now we're going to move on towards the next thing, and that is about Cancelo and that handball that he supposedly did. Now, there are two reasons why Cancelo's handball was never going to be given as a penalty at all. Point number one, when Cancelo touched the ball with his arm, the way that the Porto player laid down the ball and tried to maintain the ball, it was with his left arm or his right arm. He touched it with his arm first before Cancelo touched it with his arm, which disallowed Cancelo ever receiving either a red card or a potential penalty. So that action of Porto did take place first, and that is why the referee was like, okay, this is not a handball. And then the second point is this: if the ref said no, the Porto player never touched the ball with his hand and Cancelo did, even if Cancelo's play counted, his body was outside the box, it would have never counted as a penalty. So there was no way Porto was going to be receiving that penalty that they were supposedly supposed to get at that time. And you can see through the pictures here, it was never supposed to be a penalty. Cancelo was always outside the box, and also even with that, the Porto player did touch it with his arm first before Cancelo did, which makes it 100% not a penalty, and if anything, it was Barcelona's ball. And so, like I said, was this Barcelona's best game? Of course not. It was probably one of the worst games, but we still got a result. And the fact that this club is at a state where we can still win, even at our lowest level, that is good news. Barcelona know how to suffer without the ball. And even Ferran Torres said, this club, this squad, we know how to suffer when we don't have the ball. And once we do have the ball, we know how to capitalize off of the mistakes that the opposition does give. Barcelona were never used to doing that. Like, every time the opposition was out of the defensive shape and Barcelona had the ball, we were very slow. But in this game, we showcased that we have the capability to really tackle those open spaces that the opposition does leave us. And going to Gavi, right? Gavi did receive a red card in the dying last 5 to 10 minutes of the match. It was very unfortunate, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Gavi getting the red card now and this early in the competition, because he's going to be missing the next match, which will be against Shakhtar, but it will be at Barcelona's home. And that is probably the best time for Barcelona to lose one of their best midfielders, which will be against Shakhtar and within our own home. We can have Gundogan, we can have Fermin Lopez take on those positions, because we're going to need Gavi later in this competition throughout these next 4 to 6 potential matches that we could play. So it's good that he restarted his yellow card run in this campaign. I wouldn't be surprised if later we hear that this whole thing about Gavi receiving the red card was intentional, like he was trying to get this early to get it over with. And so that is it. Thank you, Barcelona, for this win. We did what we could in our most difficult moment in these group stages, and now we move on and we play the remaining matches, which will be Barcelona facing Shakhtar at Barcelona's home, then going to Shakhtar away, then going back to Barcelona's home and going up against Porto, and then finishing off the campaign with visiting Antwerp, and Barcelona will be away. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.